Welcome to the Ascent of Mount Carmel YouTube channel. This channel is devoted to a reading and better understanding of the book Ascent of Mount Carmel by St. John of the Cross. And today we're on the third chapter of the third book. And in the last installment we discussed how during prayer and meditation we should darken our memory in regard to the natural knowledge and images which we have received. When we are ready, we should let our minds go blank during prayer and meditation. If we don't do this, we're creating obstacles to our progress, and St. John refers to these obstacles as evils.
That's evil. Evil is going on wrong.
In this chapter, St. John discusses the first evil, and this is, if we rely on natural knowledge and images from our memory, it's going to subject our souls to things such as falsehoods and imperfections. And among the imperfections are desires, opinions, loss of time, and other things that cause impurity in the soul. St. John tells us that when we rely on knowledge and reasoning, it's inevitable that we're going to inadvertently accept at least some falsehoods along the way. Every one of us has believed something at some point, and we believed that it was true, only to learn later that it actually was false. And we discussed this a little bit in the video, What is Truth? And that's in the Smoke of Satan playlist, and we have it linked below. Now, we can't assume that everything we've learned with our senses is true. For instance, when you look at the oar of a boat, when you look at it through the water, when it's half above water, half below, it seems distorted, the angle of the oar. But we know that that can't be true. Our senses can be deceived. Not only that, but there are actually very few things that we really do have complete knowledge of. But we still may accept them as being true because we accept that partial knowledge. But if we darken our memory, we can avoid worldly information and knowledge that might be false. Now, the goal here is to learn things through the dark night of faith. But if we set store by the knowledge that we have learned through our senses, it's going to be impossible to rise above it. St. John tells us that countless imperfections and follies insinuate themselves into such knowledge, some of which are so subtle and minute that without the soul's realization thereof, they cling to it of their own accord, so that it is better to conquer once and for all, denying the memory completely. In the style of St. Thomas Aquinas, St. John of the Cross anticipates an objection, and that objection is that by darkening the memory, the soul deprives itself of many good thoughts and meditations upon God. But St. John answers, the purity of soul is the greatest profit, which means that there clings to the soul no creature, affection, or temporal affection, or affective advertence, which I believe cannot but help cling to the soul because of the imperfection which the faculties have in their own operations. It is best to learn to silence the faculties and to cause them to be still, so that God may speak. Objection! You might ask whether we will have distractions of worldly thoughts if we allow our minds to go blank during prayer and meditation. But this will only happen if we haven't darkened our memory. The worldly thoughts that tend to invade our prayer and meditations are memories of worldly things that we learn via the senses. And as we said in the last installment, we need to be vigilant during prayer and meditation that our souls remain focused on God. This process of darkening our memory is to shut the door to things below so that we can open the door to things above. St. John tells us that if we dwell on our memories of what we have heard, seen, touched, or tasted while we pray or meditate, those imperfections are likely to plague us. Our memories cause us to dwell on things like hatred, fear, desires, and vanity. And so these things are imperfections and venial sins that can subtly stain and impurify our soul. And these things can creep into our prayer and meditation even when we're trying to be focused on God. And that's why we need to be vigilant. Another problem is that our memories give fuel to judging the souls of others. And when we allow these things to creep in prayer and meditation, it may seem as if evil is good and good is evil. And the only way to prevent all of this is to darken our memories during prayer and meditation. As you know, whenever we judge the souls of others or think jealous or hateful or angry thoughts, we should say an act of contrition. But please remember, we say the Confiteor at Mass, and that includes a confession of sins of thought. And sometimes these thoughts will be during the heat of passion, such as when somebody cuts you off in traffic. But here's a homework assignment. Every time you catch yourself having these types of thoughts, these angry or judging or hateful thoughts, Determine whether it's a heat of passion or maybe it's a memory that you've been going over and over in your mind. Maybe it's something that you're replaying over and over again. And these memories can become attachments or creatures that we cling to, and then they block our progress toward divine union. So we must darken our memory, and St. John calls this process enclosing our souls so that we'll be without anxieties and troubles, where the doors of our faculties, which are the memory, understanding, and the will, are enclosed against all images. And if we do this, God will take away from our souls all the misgivings, suspicions, disturbances, and darkness that have led to fear.
The secret of life is to have no fear.
So St. John tells us to be vigilant in prayer, and we should wait in detachment and emptiness, and blessings will follow from this. Well, I hope you enjoyed this installment of Ascent of Mount Carmel, and we'll be back again in about a week with another one. In the meantime, please pray for the church.
If you're a long way from home, can't sleep at night, grab your telephone, something just ain't right.
That's evil. Evil